So basically, if you're trying to get your freedom and trying to identify as to what you was before you was colonized, then we got main 4 topics right here. FBA, then you got, I guess, Indian. Over here, Moorish. And then you just up here, you got simply as indigenous. FBA,
Foundational Black Americans.
So that's when you identify as what? Black? Over here, Moorish. And right here you identify as a Moorish nationality, but it kind of ties you into Morocco. And you got, I guess, Indian. Now this is good, because this is Indian. And you know, they say we the Indians, Indios. And this is, but you got to tie to a federally recognized tribe. Then we got indigenous.
Original people of the land.
So how are you going to identify? Because you know what they say, slavery is a choice. Remember? So which one do you choose?
Foundational Black Americans, FBA history. Let's get to the official website, FBA.com. Let's get it. Foundational Black Americans, FBA, are the proud descendants of the black men and women who endured and survived one of the greatest atrocities in human history, American slavery. These resilient ancestors built the United States from the ground up, laying their foundation for the nation's economy, political, and cultural development. However, the rich history of FBA did not begin in 1619 with the arrival of enslaved black people in Virginia. It began nearly a century earlier. In 1526, Spanish colonizer Lucas Vasquez de Ayllón brought the first documented enslaved black people to the shores of what is now the South Carolina and Georgia coastline. Shortly after their arrival, these enslaved black people courageously revolted against their captors, leading to the collapse of the Spanish settlement. The surviving Spaniards retreated to the Caribbean, leaving behind the liberated black people. These freed black people integrated with local Native American societies, making a pivotal and often overlooked chapter in the lineage and cultural evolution of foundational Black Americans.
So basically, on the FBA, we classify as black, like we used to. But we're classifying to a black that goes back to 1500s. I mean, that's what the website and the history goes back to. And then the story just leaves us with as black slaves fighting back. But where did these black slaves come from? Because according to the website, it could kind of throw you off. It can make you think they came from Africa, or it can make you think something else, that they are different than the natives that they blend in. Because you said these black slaves blended in with natives of the land. And it'll make you think they all different. So let's see where these black slaves came from.
Spanish explorer and magistrate Lucas Vasquez de Ayllón was heavily involved in the Caribbean before attempting to settle in North America. He arrived in Hispaniola in 1502, serving as a judge and official in Santo Domingo and Conception, and operated
So FBA is representing
plantations.
the black people that goes back to the 1526. That was brought to the big part of America as slaves by this guy. But before this guy came to America, he resided in Hispaniola. You see Hispaniola, modern day Haiti and Dominican Republic. This island right here, which is the Americas. Looks how close that is to America. Pay attention. But where did he come from? So people gonna be like, well, dang, he came from Hispania. Yeah, but where did he come from before? He came from Spain, Toledo, Spain. Came from Spain under Nicolas, who came with a military.
Nicolas de Ovando, appointed governor of Hispaniola in 1502, commanded a massive fleet of 32 ships, 2,500 colonies, transforming Spanish presence with a brutal and systematic military approach. He conducted ruthless campaigns, such as in the Jaraguá and Hugio regions, utilizing the encomienda system to force Taino people into labor, resulting in significant population declines. To force Taino people into labor. Ancient Hispaniola inhabited for over 5,000 years before 1492. It was primarily home to the Taino people. Taino, who migrated from South America, and formed organized agricultural communities. The island located on the Greater Antilles was called
Kisakea. Kia for short.
It was called that by native groups and divided into chieftains. So for thousands of years before they was abducted into slavery and then carried to the big landmass of America, right here on the islands that we call Haiti and Dominican Republic. home of the Taino people. But who are the Taino people? The Orinoco Valley in South America served as a major migration hub and cultural hearth. A major migration hub and cultural hearth with indigenous groups including Arawakan and Caribbean speakers. Caribbean, you see? Moving north into the Caribbean islands, Antilles, from as early as 2000 BCE, particularly through Trinidad. The Orinoco River flowing through Venezuela into the Atlantic and Caribbean Sea acted as a vital, direct, and continuous waterway for trade and population movement. They own communities, civilizations, trading, big population movements. That's a nation. That's their own people. They've been here. These people been here on their own land. They've been there since 2000 BC. Wait a minute. And who was there in 2000 BC? Olmec and Mayans. Yeah. Them folks. So they moved up. So you see these people right here. I want you to pay attention to these ancient figurines of some of these people. And all these figurines, they match highly with all the other figurines. And I want to tell you one symbol, you got to pay attention to all these people because they all was connected. All coming from Olmec and Mayans, and they became the Caribbean Arawak. This sign right here, look at this sign. Pay attention to this sign because you're going to find it on a lot of the artifacts. And it's going to be on images, it's going to be on wall carvings. It is the sun sign, the crossing, the X. And these people was known as the sun people all through this land. And that's why they got their X. But watch and see what their X evolved through. The sunflower compass of the Ancient America Agricultural Society. And it represents the rising of the sun in each direction, north, east, south, and west. It is an agricultural solar sign. So in historically, early agricultural communities, example, in Mesopotamia and Egypt, relied on tracking celestial bodies which acted as a natural calendar for predicting seasonal changes and improving agriculture. So the art of their forming process functions of the aligning of the stars, just like the builder's craft is aligned with the stars. And the symbol for those celestial agriculturists was the flower, the solar flowers or the solar plants. It all makes sense because the sun feeds the plants. The plants is shaped by the sun. It's about life, sunlight. And as you can see, the flower, don't matter how many petals, whether 4, 7, or 18, it is a universal symbol to mark the agricultural society of builders and merchants. Now keep listening to me now, because I know what you're thinking. Hold on, what do this has to do with classifying? And what this has to do with the FBA and the indigenous thing? I'm finna show you, because this sign finna show you everything. So just keep following me here. So it's many solar compasses. It's many sun signs. This is a sun sign. This also is a sun sign. Because each sign also had their own individual meaning. Like one sign might represent a vowel. Like this represents the eye of the sun, eye of the beholder, observance, the all-seeing eye. This sign is found all throughout ancient America. Used by the ancestors of the FBA, if they was able to go past 1500. While this Pacific 4-petal or 4-lane, the cross, represents the sun crossing, the horizon, and the crossing of the sun. So the crossing of nation, the crossing of each direction, north, east, south, and west, and the crossing point of all of it. And the ancient Americans used this sign for everything. They depicted it on the back of a turtle. The turtle represented the land, and the sun rises from the land, shining in 4 directions, north, east, south, and west. And no, not just the island by Haiti or in Haiti, which they call Turtle Island. It's a bunch of depictions, all the myths of all these people in ancient America coming from North America to South America to the Central America. They all had stories dealing with the turtle, calling their land the turtle and calling them turtle people. So the FBA are Taino people that came from the ancient Mayans. And one of the main Mayan gods, the corn god, Hun-Hunappu, rises on a tree from the back of a turtle, the serpent in the shell. And Hun-Hunappu was the rising sun, the life giver. So the people started using this symbol to represent the life-giving sun from north, east, south, to west of the whole land. This is the land of the sun people. It became the banner for the celestial agriculturists. Look at the S. And pay attention to then when you look at these artifacts, these depictions of the Nicaragua, they look very similar to the Nayarit art. The Nayarit and Nicaragua are very distinct nations. Nayarit being a state of Mexico and Nicaragua is a distinct nation within its own unique history. But they both are linked and tied in because they both share regional history with the Nahua people. The Naha people. Let's get it. And what do you see on their depictions and statues? Whew. Ain't that the Confederate flag, a.k.a. the war flag, a.k.a. the real indigenous flag? Red and blue, red and blue. There we go. What Noble Drew Ali said about the red flag. They say that the ancient Americans been using the red background flags for thousands of years. And as you can see, there go that red flag, and it's popping up all in history. The only thing different, it didn't have that star. Yeah, but it had a whole bunch of other stars on it. And as you can see, it had the sun sign, the original ancient American sun sign. Yeah, represent the Lord of the country and all. Red and blue, red and blue. Look at America inside the red banner. Look at the red feathers, the blue feathers. Look at it, red and blue, red and blue. Everybody sold you out, and it seems that you're going to sell you out too. Red and blue. To this picture, look at the colors. On all levels, look at our colors, the red and blue. Because they told you got that from ancient, you think that came from the United States. That came from the Americans, the indigenous Americans. The red and blue, look at it. Even in slavery, red and blue. Even as indentured service, red and blue. So remember the death of the Morkey, the Morkai, the death. Look at them, red and blue. Look at the shield, the royal shields and stuff. Come on, man. Y'all better know who y'all are. Y'all royal blood. Red and blue, red and blue. Y'all are the royal bloods that went around the whole world. Now you got everybody rocking the red and blue and the stars as if it was them. But y'all the one that mapped out the stars. That's why y'all got the stars. Red and blue, red and blue. Y'all know who y'all are. I know, but everybody else do.
So as FBA, we represent the melanated people going back to the 1500s. And that's it, seemingly that's it. We already know that everybody, all the melanated people, black people, FBA, they was here before the United States. They was here before the 1500s. They had ancestors that built this country before the United States was even thought about. What about our ancestors? How would you feel if your kids just disgraced everything you built from them and then they just turned around and gave it to somebody else that had nothing to do with y'all? Period. I'm just saying. According to the FBA, based off their website, the documented slaves that came on the boat blended in with the natives. That's inaccurate. Those documented slaves was the natives that they blended in with. They was just a southern brotherly tribe. They was the same people, same symbols, same signs, same pronunciations off of the pictograph that resembles Proto-Synodic script, basically resembling Paleo-Hebraic script. Hebrew, not Hebrew. Hebrew didn't exist yet. We are you the people that invented all of that.
To classify as Indian or pledge your nationality as Indian, then you must pledge your sovereign under federal recognition or pledge your sovereign under the state's sovereignty, dealing with the Congress. Either way, you're subject to something that was here after your ancestors. And food for thought, if you do pledge you're indigenous in the future, that doesn't disqualify you from being recognized by a tribe. That helps you, to be honest. And just to nationalize your identity as just an individual tribe is also showing your lack of intelligence, showing that you're mentally incapable of uniting nationally, or you're incapable of functioning in the ally of nation, resembling primitive animalistic tribes that need a shepherd. And you know shepherds will tell you to move here and move there whenever they see fit. Whoa, did we already do this? Well, we in retrograde or something? I ain't trying to rewind. I ain't trying to play no reruns. Whoa, as a people, we need to stop being the merch and start being the merchants. Stop being consumers. Remember, we was the producers. Hey man, when it comes to this indigenous thing, it's time to acknowledge the elephant in the room. The Moorish American Al Morocco versus the Hebrew Indians. Cause bro, it be whoa when you go to any of their chats. The Moorish American Al Morocco don't like the Hebrew Indians, and the Hebrew Indians don't be liking the Moorish American Al Moroccans. I swear it's game banging. They stuck in the loop. Now I'm gonna show you how weird this is. See, when you got that odyssey, you can determine it. I bet you. In today's time, when it comes to both of these groups, the ones who are pushing it on social media already has it in their background. For example, Hebrew Indians have familiar connections with, of course, religious like Hebrew Israelites, but also a Christian background, or the family have a Masonic background dealing with the 6-point star, or just coming from a family, neighborhood, or community that organized under a 6-point star. And that's vice versa for the Moorish people. It'll be the total opposite. Those coming from a 5-point star background or like a Islamic background. What do that have to do with anything? Man, it has something to do with everything, because you can't get the whole picture of truth if you stuck in a box. It's going to always be something that's going to make you deny or overlook something of truth, because you're psychologically already conditioned. And I'm talking about both sides be saying some real Man, listen, both sides be dropping some jewels. But due to their labels, they are mentally veiled, unable to rationalize with the reality of the intel. But if they would just listen to each other, they would comprehend the actuality of a true stolen nation. Now first, are we Hebrew Indians? Technically, no. It's impossible. We was here educated as hell way before Hebrew was created. And then you hear Paleo-Hebrew, you're thinking Hebrew. But Paleo-Hebrew is not necessarily Hebrew. And Paleo-Hebrew is just a title created in the 19th century by Solomon Birnbaum. The Bible calls Abraham the first Hebrew because all his descendants eventually start speaking Hebrew. But he wasn't Hebrew and he didn't speak Hebrew. He spoke Akkadian. Hebrew didn't form until 1,000 years later. It's not necessarily the religion. It's the religious fanatics that is the Antichrist that you got to watch out to if you want to know your true freedom. Because they're going to keep you all shackled up in boxes.
Now, look at all of these languages. Now watch this. Because I tell people every time they talk to me about talking proper, you need to talk proper, you sound too country, or you talk with a slur. I tell people all the time, I didn't go and learn English. English came over here and learned me. So you want to know what y'all indigenous bloodline was talking as an indigenous nation, as an indigenous nationality, what y'all was talking, the language y'all was talking? Well, here we go, right here. We finna break it down. I'm finna show you. But first, pay attention. This is the Phoenicians. You see this? This is Hebrew. You see the Hebrew? Hebrew comes from where? Before Hebrew, it was Proto-Semitic. Where did it come from? Ancient Egyptian. Here's good ancient Egyptian script. Oh, but where did the ancient Egyptians come from? Here goes. Look at that. Mayan. You see this is Maya.
Mayatin.
Since ancient times. Yes, since before 3000 BC. You see this? BC. Not AD, not nothing about when y'all be talking about the calendar and stuff. This is way before all of that. And look at the language. So the English language, the alphabet, which is phonetics, came from the Phoenicians, which came from, feel me? And with that being said, that means our language really didn't come from Phoenicians, Hebrew, none of that. We taught the language that all of those languages came from. Yes, so you are the truth. You are indigenous. You are organic. And your language is the Mu language or Maya language. Mayapin is Mu. They'll be like, Mu is something different. No, Mayapin is the Mu languages. It's part of the
Another Mayan script, and the letters are evolving. Look, the letters, it came from us.
So yeah, they did have a tribal dialect, but they also had a national dialect. And that is where all these languages came from. Arabic, all of it. Hebrew. I told you, we been knew the truth over here. I told you, we been knew the truth. We was trying to see when y'all was gonna catch up. Y'all still ain't caught up yet. Y'all still religious.
Native speakers refer to their language simply as Maya. Another more formal term is Jack or Jach Maya or Jach or Jet Mayatan, meaning true or real language. Oh, with the cap, that's fake. The real name is Haru Mayatin. Haril Mayatan. Haru Mayatin. Harun Mayat. Mayat for short. Maya. Now, please pay attention. I urge you to listen because they changed the letters up. So at the time the powers that be removed the aura, hidden it, and introduced the J, and it went around the whole world, using an illusion to paint a whole nother narrative. Meanwhile, over time, the R in the Mayan language has been depleted, replaced with different consonants, mainly JT and L. Rather natural or orchestrated, this event manipulated history and helped to erase the identity of an indigenous nation.
Yet the Mayan language family underwent significant sound shift over the last few thousand years, particularly concerning the Proto-Mayan liquid sound R, R, R. This sound is not consistently found in modern Mayan languages. Key aspects of the shift: split transformation. In many Western Mayan languages such as Huastecan, Yucatan, and Cholan, the ancestral R changed to a J sound. Other shift. Other branches changed the R into like a T sound or a T sound. Retention. Some languages in the Eastern branch such as Kichi retained the original R sound. In Mayan languages, the letter J represents a voiceless glottal fricative, pronounced like the English H in hey. Based on linguistic analysis of Proto-Mayan phonology, the Proto-Mayan consonant R did not generally change into a Z sound. Instead, it typically shifted to a J or a Y sound in Western Mayan languages like Yucatec and Chiolan, or was retained as an R or changed to a T in Eastern languages.
This how I know it's not a tribal thing. This is a national thing. It didn't just happen in the middle America or the Southern America. It happened all over the Americas, North America too. One of the largest tribes in North America is the Cherokee. And look, the Cherokee syllabary created by the Sequoia uses the one syllable symbol to represent the L sound, but in the now extinct lower dialect, this symbol was pronounced with a roared R, like the R in right. Rather than the modern L like in light. Look. Shiraji versus the Shalaji. The word for Cherokee was originally pronounced Shiraji with an R in the Southern lower dialect before it went extinct, but changed to Shalaji with an L in the dialects that survived. Now back to the name of the language, Harumayatan. The Yucatec Maya word for true or real is often Jock, a jock, sometimes spelled yach or yak, which is pronounced like the English word hatch. Because remember, the J is really the H sound. It is often used in combinations such as Hach Maya, Jock Maya, whatever. But look, pay attention to it right here. You see that? And remember that tuf, you know that was replaced with that R. It's supposed to be an R right there. And that would have changed the word to horror or haril. But you think I'm playing? Watch this. The inconsistency of the word is what gives it away. In some contexts, the word for true or very is represented by judge or jajil, which is high heel or high heeled, which refers to truth, honesty, or something being accurate. But the jil represents the tiff, which was pronounced as the ch and the hatch. So the jil was actually a R. So it's actually Jaril, Haril. Based on the available Mayan linguistic resources and the Popol Vuh literal translation, the word real, often written as your real or relal, is commonly found meaning his or her sight, to see it, or its appearance, derived from the root il, which is really ear, to see. So real, in many Maya languages, particularly in the context of classical or Kichi, Uriel refers to his seeing or his observation, meaning his truth, his reality. What he's seeing, the seeing, is to see the reality of it, real. You see? This is a word we already was saying in ancient times, often used in literally text to describe observing a situation or someone. Notice it say it is often used in literary text to describe observing a situation or someone. The search results provided do not suggest that the word Jil exists as a common variant that is specifically actually real in standard Mayan lexicography. But real is a valid and frequent term. You see that? And it means to see clearly or to observe reality, real, an indigenous word that we've been using since ancient time and we thought they taught us English. No, they had to come over here and correct their English. That's why it went from old English to new English. I didn't learn English. English just came over here and learned me.
It's the reason I broke down the letter J and R and how it changed the languages, because it plays a major role in the end. Let's recap. We went over the footsteps of the so-called slaves, showing exactly where they came from. Now, in the case of identifying, I don't have to identify as black when nature did it for me. I'm not just talking about color, because you can be extremely light, but it's in the way you talk, the way you walk. It's like melanin carries this identity in your aura. Like, be for real. If I go into a sundown town right now, they ain't gonna need no census. They just gonna label me as a straight.
Shut up!
And I didn't listen to all this hip-hop yelling the feds is watching just to go federally recognized, to get federally recognized. And then I just proved with common sense that we weren't Hebrew. And then I showed you the national flag or national banner. Then I gave you the national language. Now that just leaves us with the two.
Okay, we have the Moorish Americans versus the Indigenous American. Mary Cash versus the Amaruka. The Amaruanuk versus the Ramaruk, which leads to Al Morocco of Africa and Al Morocco of America. Let's get it. Okay, let's look at the Al Moroccan proclamation for the ancient Americans. Let's look at this. Whereas the Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites, Hamathites, and Canaanites, who were permitted by the old pharaohs of Kemet to traverse from East Africa and later formed themselves kingdoms extending from the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa, the Atlantic islands, onto the present-day continental Americas. Whereas the indigenous Moorish peoples of the Americas are now unified in order to again link themselves with the family of nations. And whereas the Moorish Americans, being aboriginal to the territories of North Central and South Americas, have formed a sovereign theocratic government guided by the command principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice through the virtue of the universal right to self-determination, as well as with the Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. So this is in the own words of the Moorish American. This is what you are proclaiming to be: a Moabite, Canaanite, Hamite, approved by ancient Egyptians, which are called Kemites. So the indigenous ancient Americans spoke Mayatin, which came before the Egyptians, which came before Proto-Semitic, which came before the Canaanites, the Moabites, all of that. Just like we said about the Hebrews, we saying the same thing about the Moabites. No, we're not descended from no Moabites. Our language didn't descend from no Moabites. It's the other way around, which we have already proven. And another thing, the term Hamathites or Hamites and Kemites, they're the same thing. In case you didn't know, the ancient Egyptians wasn't called Kemites. The original ancient Egyptians were not Kemites. The original ancient Egyptians was Shemites. They were Shemitic. They started with Shanti Amatu or Shem, the Scorpion King that came from ancient America that landed over there. So yes, these are the real depictions, real artifacts from historical and ancient times. But right here, the Shem, the Egyptian picture of Shem, all the way to the right, that is my depiction of the depiction that's right beside of it. All I did was enhance the picture and brought it to life. You have to see the video about Sheshem, aka Shem, Shantiamatu, sometimes pronounced as Shakra, like the Choctaw Indians. Yeah, see, y'all don't know how deep this thing goes. And these people came with the real Canaan people. Not the Canaanites that you be thinking about. No, the people that came from the indigenous place. They was called Canaanites, or they weren't necessarily the Canaanites, but they was Canaanites. They became one by blood with the Israelites, remaining a powerful ally throughout the ages. And that's what we go back to. Indigenous. And I'm finna show you that we was here way before those people was called Moors. We was called Moors first. And I'm finna show you this. Now, on the dollar, there's two different seals to represent the United States of America. One of the seals represent the United States citizenship or the United States. The other seals represent the nationality of the American. So you have United States of America. And it gets deep. Watch. A national is a person owing permanent allegiance to a state, while a citizen is a person who holds full legal rights and responsibilities, including voting, under the state's law. While all citizens are nationals, not all nationals are citizens. Nationality is often the broader international legal bond, whereas citizenship is the specific domestic. Nationality is obtained through birth, just solely descent. Civilian status is the default state for most, which changes only upon joining armed forces or paramilitary groups. Nationality is a permanent legal status recognized internationally. Civilian status is a situational protection under humanitarian law, which can be lost if a person takes up arms. Now, the United States, they had commissioned a whole team of people to try to figure out the seals they was going to use for the nation. It was actually a lot of them. It was a lot of different ones. But right here, I just chose the main ones, the ones that had this pyramid. If you can see, these are the main ones. And if you notice, they had the pyramid on them. What is that pyramid? Who do that pyramid represent? And it has the all-seeing eye on it, which is the eye of providence. But how deep is it? Because this is the ancient eye. That's in all ancient religion. This is an ancient symbol. And it is an ancient sun symbol. Don't you think that would be representing the people who created it? Like the people who culture that symbol represent. That symbol represents the indigenous national, the nationals. Anyway, by studying, you find out that a lot of designs they use was replicas of other designs. Oh, and many sketches was presented because certain symbols had to be used for the seal because they was already being used to represent the nation international before the United States intervened. So I'm not going to get into Charles Thompson and William Barton in this video because they have something to do with the seal as well. But you gotta understand where they got their ideas from.
All they did was take what was ours, switch up the design by cutting off the capstone to the pyramid, which is our consciousness. Removed it from the temple. The crescent moon and star took off Islam. They put the Roman numerals down there. That right there in Roman numerals used to be our self-law and master, internal self-law and management, Novus Ordo Seclorum, New World Order. This is why the Prophet Noble Drew Ali said, go back to that state of mind of your ancient foremothers and forefathers. These ain't my words. Black's Law Dictionary, 4th edition. Ab Antiqua, from old times, from ancient time. Antiqua means from ancient times, from old times.
Ancient times, from old times, this structure, this symbol. What is this symbol called? Ancient Egyptians typically referred to the pyramids generically as Mir or Mir, M-R. The signature for the ancient ways is the pyramid, and it is the Moor. And who is the New World Order? The people that learned everything from the Moors or stole it from the Moors or tried to.
In 1935, when President Franklin Roosevelt, a former Mason, added the Great Seal to our currency.
And the bloodline of the indigenous people, the head of all the so-called black households, was sworn in purposely to gatekeep you from your land, your arts, and riches of your ancestors. Thus, you would never use your national side. You will always function as a subject, a sheep, a civilian in this new world order. That's why the higher societies of the Masonic Lodge is the Masonic Moors, which they call Masonic Shriners. You can't become a Masonic Shriner until you're a 33-degree Mason. So they got all y'all dissected while they functioning under the ancient ways of your ancestors' blood. They come together under one architect while y'all gang-banging, religious, and destroying each other.
Novus Ordo Seclorum, New World Order. This is why the Prophet Noble Drew Ali said, go back to that state of mind of your ancient foremothers and forefathers.
And in the ancient mind, we are growing and developing forever. The people who are the architect of the Moors, aka pyramids, mounds, work arts, are considered Moorish people, or the Moor people. Moorish Sun people, to be exact. Because we left our own signature. The creation and design of the pyramid itself is our signature in signs and symbols. And how we know this ancient places in America, where all the Ameris or Moors at, it's really common sense because it's way more pyramids in America than it is in Africa, way more pyramids than it is in Asia. But it's way more pyramids in America than it is the whole world put together. And then, where is the largest pyramid located at? In the Americas. Not in Africa. So who are the original mound builders? Let that sink in your head. And ancient Americans definitely called the mounds Moors. Mayans commonly refer to mounds, particularly large ceremony or temple structures, as mula or mul in the Yucatec Maya language. These structures were often built as platforms for temples or to cover elite barriers. A specific example is the Nohak Mul pyramid in Koba or Kaaba, which translates to large. Nahach Mul. Anyway, key details. Mul generally refers to a mound or pile of stones, earth. Nohak Mul translates specifically to big mound. Now understand, when writing with Maya glyphs, particularly when transliterating foreign names or sounds not found in the Maya syllabary, the sound L is often substituted for the R sound. Then you scroll to the substitution method. For example, in educational activities modeling Maya writing, such as transliterating the name Christian, the L glyph is commonly used to replace the R consonant. So Christine would now be Clistin. It's erroneous. Well, we on the outside would erroneously say Clistin, but even though it's with the L, they would still pronounce it as Christine. So re. It's a definite article. Definite article which represents the. Anyway, very often used with nouns starting or containing M. Remam, the grandfather, Ramal, the blanket, and Ramal could also be Remar. And even if it's not, one thing for sure though, when you see mul or mul, it's supposed to be more or moor, however you want to pronounce it. Mur or moor. But most definitely not mule or mule, in which was their enemy's word, the Latin people word, and it means donkey. So are you a part of a united ancient society of builders, or are you a tribe of enslaved donkeys? The same thing the ancient Egyptians and ancient Hindustan people called them. Moors, built by the Moru people. Let's get it. And they tampered with your language so you couldn't get back to the gods of your ancestors. But our ancestors was brilliant. They knew this, so they left the signatures. Remember we was talking about the sun signs? And I said it was a variety of sun signs that we had over here. And the main ones was the circle with the dot, and then the cross. Well, here we go again.
Don't let these people laugh
They not.
at you. Saying these other languages are the languages that our people spoke
Shout to keeping it real. He is keeping it real on
in
that
North
end.
and South America. Let's go to the artifacts of the Taino or the Arabic. Every artifact they have in ancient times has a circle and a dot. A circle and a dot. It stands for a yin. That's where you get Ayati from, the first name for Haiti. Ayati comes from a yin. A yin, Paleo-Hebrew, is on all of the artifacts.
It's because it's a language called Mayatin, Negro. Not it's where Hebrew came from. All the languages, really. Now look at the pyramid, aka the Moor, from a bird's eye view. The eye of the Haru, the bird, or the Ra. And look what it forms. In the circle of the square forms the Ayin symbol. You see? And it also forms the sunflower compass cross. Do you see it? See, it's the signature of the Sun people, the Amiri, the Mori, the Mer, the Moor, showing you that the original Sun people was the craftsmen and mound builders. Yeah, the powers of be tried to claim our stuff. The top says, Annuit Corptis. The bottom says, Novus Ordo Seclorum. He, God, has favored our undertakers. A new order of the ages. You know, at the bottom, Novus Ordo Seclorum, they always know that's what the dollar says, it's a new world order. Okay, boom, boom, boom. But the Annuit Corptis, with the favorite, basically saying God has favor with the undertakers of the land. You know what I'm saying? God's favorite land. Sounds so similar. God's favorite land. And then the ancient people called it the beloved land. So God's favorite land, then God's beloved land. Oh, these folks are some real cultural simulator. Thieves, copycats, or whatever you want to call it. They really tried to reflect the indigenous people and steal their culture. They just use different words, slightly. So I know you're thinking like, what happened? And I'm finna reveal it to you. So what these people did was, they just realized, they just peeped game. Because at this time of the world, everybody knew how powerful the Moor people was. How massive their influence was since our ancient times until now. The Moor Empire, they knew how powerful these people was. So what the United States started realizing though was, wait a minute. We thought it was Morocco that had all the influence. Well, not really just Morocco or just Marrakesh, because Morocco go back to Marrakesh. But before that, they go all the way back to the middle, going towards ancient Egypt. You know, to ancient Egypt with people with names like Mary Mayat, Mayat Sobek, Maya Hotep. They had considered ancient Egypt the closest thing to the old world, where all the gods descended at. That's what they was. You don't understand. They thought all culture came from out of ancient Egypt. They thought Africa was that pit. They started teaching and creating doctrines going all the way back to Africa. All science started revolving around the continent of Africa. And for educational purposes, all narratives had to start coinciding. And the reason I brought up ancient Egypt, because just west of ancient Egypt, that whole thing was called Marmarica. Yeah, it was called Marmarica. It was part of a whole connection with Libya and all that. And that was before Morocco existed. And the people, these Mar people, was builders, was the ancient builders that went around the whole world. And they built these mounds and earthworks that they called Moors or Moors. It's all in their name. That's why they're called Moors. Then when you look at the ancient Egyptians, you realize that all their surnames, their names was Maya, Moor, and Mayat. They carried those names, Maya, Moor, and Mayat. They carried these names, mainly Maya, Moor, and Mayat was three major names that the ancient Egyptians carried with them because they were Shemites. And if you did any studying, you would know that it was Moors built all around the world, not just in Africa. They was everywhere. They was pyramids built everywhere. The key is that all the ancestors of these good old folks that built these mound works, they all trace their ancestry back to the West. Like if you see the pyramids that's in Europe or England or the Irish pyramids, you're going to see the mounds, they're tracing themselves back to the West. The mounds or pyramids, earthworks that's in ancient Africa, they trace back to the West. All the way in Turkey, they trace back to the West. Now, in India, they're going to trace something back to the East. And that's because they're on the west side of the East. And just like in ancient Africa, where almost every river was named Moor, and a lot of kings that had their surname names Maya and Moor, it was the same thing in India. Almost all the rivers and cities, a lot of gods and kings, their name was Maya and Moor too. And then you realize when you study the ancient Hindu text, the place where they tried to call India, when you study that text, you find out that it was a god called Maya Shura or Maya Deneva. But Maya built the city of Murat or Mir. And the ancient people who taught Mayatin is the people that built the pyramids and mounds, the Moors. The Mayatin built the Moors, Maya Moors. So in a nutshell, all the Naga Maya Moors that's on the east side of the world, mainly Asia, the eastern parts of Asia, traced everything back or pinpointed towards the east. While all the Maya Moors on the west side of the world, like Europe and West Mesopotamia, West Turkey, and West Africa, all those Moors are painting where? They're painting to the west. Bing, 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 bing. Just because I know that they tampered with our languages, changed the R and L and removed things, I want to look up every extinct language in ancient America. There's a lot of them. So right here, I'm just going to name a few. And they all got the name Marin. Just look. Mary-Wing from the Benue subgroup Children of the Water Boy. Mara-Wakan. Ancient extinct Arawakan language highly identical to Taino. Amarizana. Amarizon for short. Amarizon for short. An extinct Arawakan language of Colombia. Maruba. A Panoan language group. Y'all see this, man? You get what I'm trying to tell y'all? The Marianne. Indigenous Texas tribe in relation to the Kusa people. You know the Kusa, Kush. The Muraram. The Muraram, agricultural Indians, opposite of the Haruam language group of hunter-gatherers. Marie Kappa. Marie Kappa was adopted from the neighboring Akima Uadam Pima people. Mirari. Chibchan, a Chibcan tribes of Panama. Mura, the ancient language of the rainforest tribes of Brazil, Bahura, Yahahi, in which the Parahi shares its starting roots with. The Maratak, now extinct, was an Algonquin tribe of Virginia. Marunahua, Anaha, Moranaha, Panoan language related to other languages like Yamanawa and mountain regions, which was America, and then his name suddenly changed over time. Now it ain't Albarico, his name is Marigo. The Amariski Indians, which was connected to the Mayans, they called the mountain regions Amariski as well. But do you see it again? There you go, Amur or Amir, Ameri Risky, which means to them, the land or the mountain land of the wind, the blowing of the wind. And in the line of the Mayan, Aztec, and Inca, The wind god is the mask of the feathered surface or the plume serpent, which are decorated feathers or shining feathers together, the plume serpent. And watch this. And what is the people name that the last people that was fighting for the land of America, the indigenous people? What was their name? The Amaru. And the alternate meaning of Amaru when it's attached to the bloodline was feathered serpent or resplendent serpent or plume serpent or shining serpent. And the feathered serpents of ancient Egypt, aka the Nedgers, what did they call it? Tamiri, Ameru. See, when you know what's going and you know your history, it doesn't matter what they try to do. It don't matter about Amerigo Vespucci's or whatever his name. What did we try to do? We was already calling it that. We was already had their names. Maybe not everybody, but a lot of us was.
Europeans go to Europe.
Yeah.
Germans go to Germany. Caucasians go to the Caucasus Mountains.
Shit, so they think. But yeah, I feel you.
Every nationality ties to a landmass.
Our is America. Americas, America.
Jamaicans go to Jamaica. Honduras go to Honduras. Africans don't even say they're African.
I ain't gonna care. Back in Pisces, they didn't claim Africa.
They say Kenyan, Nigerian, Zimbabwean, wherever they from, you feel me? Every nationality ties to a landmass. And nobody stopped to question why none of these names tied to a landmass. Can someone please point out on the map, where is Negro kin? Where is colored kin? Where is black kin?
Man, I'm saying the same damn thing.
And we just keep letting this happen. Chinese go to China. Japanese go to Japan. You feel me?
They changed their language. Then they know that all people with melanin gonna share some type of DNA structure. But they only could tell you that you coming from Africa. When I got all these black people that look just like you all over the world. Man, you better wake up. And we been debunked the DNA test. Like, we debunked them like with big accuracy. Y'all late. We are indigenous to America. Ancient American, Amarucan, the Amaru, the Moor. Our name, our titles, our blood, our buildings, our mounds. The Moors. They didn't want you to know that, you melanated Americans, because you are the ones that ruled the whole world for thousands of years. This is a fact. All teachers and scientists lead back to you. The ancient ones. The gods. Now, hail Mother Mary. Why they sing Ave Maria. They talking about you.
Right, so keep following. The colonizers hijacked this law and used it to keep us in bondage and declared the baby follows the mother's condition. And if the mother was enslaved, the baby was enslaved. They couldn't steal the law itself, they could only twist its application. However, it will backfire. That law was their weapon, but it was our secret giant. Because remember, the 13th Amendment abolishes the slavery application of it permanently, but the law still exists. But once again, let me be very clear who this applies to. It applies to every descendant of the enslaved and the free persons of color. And it applied to every black woman in colonial Virginia, whether she was held in bondage or lived free, and it applied to every children born of her. And by the mid-1700s, every colony adopted this same principle. The baby follows the mother. So in summary, we are both subject to the 14th Amendment law and the baby follows the belly law. And that 6062 law sits in two places at once. Inside the legal system as inherited state law, outside the U.S. corporations framework as something older, because that law existed before the U.S. formed in 1776. And the U.S. cannot repeal what it didn't create. That law remains inaccessible, meaning it cannot be attacked, it cannot be denied, it cannot be taken away. But I'm about to go even more deeper than that. So technically and legally, we would be considered indigenous. Why? Because our ancestors were on the soil before the formation of the United States. And the 6062 baby follows the belly law was in effect before the United States even existed. You understand? And not to take away from the actual truth, because we all know that, well, most of us know that our ancestors were indigenous to these lands and our ancestors did not come from Africa. I'm just speaking on the technicality and legality of it all.
Library of Congress. Argue with that. Don't argue with me. This was published and printed there. In the second provision of Section 1 of the Act of 1740, it is declared that, quote, every Negro, Indian, mulatto, and mestizo is a slave. It doesn't matter what my opinion is about this. It doesn't matter what your opinion is about this. Get out of La La Land.
When the U.S. formed, it inherited all existing laws, including this principle, the baby follows the belly, unless explicitly repealed. It was not repealed because it cannot be, because it remains inaccessible. That means our legal relationship on this soil comes both from the 14th Amendment and a law that predates the United States itself. One was granted through the 14th Amendment, the other was inherent. Grants can be conditioned, inheritance is forever. The 1662 law is still here and inherited by the U.S. from the colonial period, and it still says the child follows the mother, and our mother's line leads back to women who was here before the nation existed, and that is a form of legal indigeneity. It means we have a legal claim to indigenous status, not tribal recognition. That's a different claim. Tribal recognition can be terminated. This cannot.
Right there in your passport, it already says it. Citizen/national. But only one aligns with descent and nationality. The other side is a 14th Amendment construct such as Negro, Black, or colored. But when you apply correctly, you are lawfully recognized on the national side and not locked into the 14th Amendment citizenship box. Most people never notice the passport already carries both terms, but by default, you are treated as a 14th Amendment citizen. That's jurisdiction by presumption. We live in a very presumptive society. They can presume anything about you. But with the right application, you can stand on the national side, rooted in descent, not in statutory citizenship.
So when you talk about the ancient hieroglyphics, you can't leave off more. Guaranteed on the hieroglyphics, you don't see no mention of the word black. You don't see no mention of the word Pan-Africa, no mention of the word Indian. Guess what? Because that didn't exist. All those terms are modern day creations of propaganda. Now you in it now.
One requires enrollment, the other requires documented descent. In legal scholarship, this is called constitutional indigeneity. It's distinct from federal recognition, tribal sovereignty, and constitutional citizenship. But it's still considered a legal status because it's rooted in the law that predates the current legal system. So technically and legally, we can be considered Aboriginal or indigenous to these lands because our presence predates the U.S. existence. It predates U.S. sovereignty. You get it? So legally, we would not be claiming tribal membership. We would be claiming Aboriginal or indigenous presence. And the U.S. did not create our presence. It inherited it.
Yeah. See, Indian is a color just like black. Indigo, Indis, India, Indi means blue dye. Royal blue color that was only created in ancient Americas that the Canaanite took around the world. And the blue goes from shades of like a dark reddish burgundy into a purplish color. You can get all these colors from it. And it was called royal, the royal color of God, because it was the color indigenous to the beloved land of God. Nobody could get that type of dye. Nobody could get that type of color. It was hard. It was the color indigenous to the beloved land of God. Tamaray, or Amaruka, America. And that's why they called all the royal Amarukans blooming. You remember they went around the world, everybody was calling black people blooming at one time? The Indian people. The modern place we call India today, back in the day, was called Hindustan. Or Bharata, something like that. It wasn't called India. We are the Indians, the blue man. But our land is not called India, it's called Amaruka. Amorica, Amorican, Tamari, Mary, Mora, Amu. The thing that you realize, we don't really have to even say, we don't have to say more. See, y'all not realizing it. See, y'all don't even realize it, gang. We don't have to say Moorish American because we don't want to make it seem like we from Africa and Morocco. We know we went over there. It's the other way around. Y'all trying to say y'all got us from over there. No, we was over here. Y'all did the most heinous crime in the world. Yeah, for real, while we was over here and y'all took people over there. It wasn't the other way around. But even though we know we are the Americans, indigenous Americans, we not from Morocco, we are the real Morocco. That's what we claiming. We're claiming we're the Moors. We're the headquarters. And if proof is in the pudding. So that's why we put indigenous American. The word American is the title for Moor. Amaruka, Amaru. It's all in biblical. It's all in history. It's all on stone. Yeah, let's get it. Them dreads, them serpents. You see it? Y'all see it? They hated them Nagamaya Moors. Because we Nagamaya Moors. We had serpents in our head. You see it? Medusa children. See it? Snakes, serpents. Nagamaya Moors, let's get it. American me, man. Indigenous me, man. Yeah.